This episode of CU Live is brought to you with support from Stoff's Coffee Roasters. Since 1988, Stoff's has been offering specialty coffee hand-roasted right here in Central Ohio. Stoff's is also a proponent of meaningful community conversations, whether online or in person. Visit their website at stoffs.com for the latest information on their locations, or to order online and enjoy a cup of Stoff's while you watch this episode.
Hello and welcome to CU Live. I'm Susan Post, Associate Editor of Columbus Underground. Today I have with me Wright, who is the President of RAMA Consulting.
Yes.
So thanks so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about entrepreneurialism in a post-pandemic world.
Yeah.
So I was reading some articles online that the pandemic has really spurred a lot of entrepreneurialism. In fact, there's a Wall Street Journal article that even found that according to government data, Americans are starting new businesses at the fastest rate in more than a decade. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, whether hadn't had the time before,
absolutely.
Pure survival mode, is this something that you think we're going to continue to see even as we do start to come out of the pandemic?
I do. I think the pandemic has done several things. And one is help people to really realize what's important.
Yeah.
And so when we think about going to a 9 to 5 every day, if that's not your thing and you're not getting fulfilled there, I think the pandemic gave folks that time to reflect on what they really could offer in the marketplace, right? And so I think that's going to continue. I think entrepreneurs are going to continue to think about ideas they've been sitting on for years, how there are better pathways to do the things that they want to do. I think they're going to figure it out. And that's what a good entrepreneur does, right? We're in the business of perpetually figuring it out.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's going to continue.
But no other time to figure it out than now, it seems.
Absolutely.
And this is likely going to vary depending on the industry, but how should the experience of the pandemic change how entrepreneurs shape their business, whether that's, nest egg or understanding your business insurance? What do you think we're going to see because of this?
I think there's a lot of lessons learned, but I think, on the good side, it's things like maybe that occupancy cost that you were putting into that business plan, maybe it can go away. We have learned how to execute businesses in a way without brick and mortar real estate in many cases, right? So what does that mean? I think that means that folks are going to have a lower barrier to entry from a financial perspective, which is going to mean they can repurpose that capital to do other things to grow their business. I also think though that in terms of shaping your business, I don't know that it'll change fundamentally. I think those elements of having a good idea, having the resources, and having the right people connected to you, whether they are employees or partners, will remain. But I do think what's happened during the pandemic, and we may talk about this in terms of networking, it gave people the time to develop some relationships that they might not have already had. It also gave people the opportunity to research things that they might have been thinking about, but didn't always have the time to look into. And so I think those two together, having the right network and then being able to connect with the right people to grow your business, I think will be something that'll be beneficial for new entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and I've heard that directly from some business owners that I've spoken to during this, that I never would have been able to, put this together had I not been furloughed from my job, which is unfortunate, but it's, also led to something great.
Silver linings, right?
Yep. So as folks are vaccinated, we can kind of start to interact more and, purposefully not saying return to normal because who knows what that's going to look like. But what opportunities do you see for entrepreneurs?
Well, I think, again, this market has created an environment where low barrier to entry in terms of entering the marketplace. I think there's going to be a lot of service-based businesses. People have figured out how they can, as an individual, add something to the local community, whether that is, delivery services or partnering with someone to start a small business or a small bakery or restaurant. So even though the hospitality sector has been very hugely impacted, I think, in this pandemic, I do think there's some opportunities for folks to think about how do they come together, develop smaller brands of those hospitality-based businesses and be able to offer them to the broader community. So I could see a lot of partnership development coming out of this. I think people who are individuals who want to come together and do something larger will also be an outcome of this pandemic as well.
Why is entrepreneurialism going to play such an important role in helping the economy as we do come out of this?
Yeah, I think the key to that really is entrepreneurs are in the business of figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in the business of figuring it out, the smaller kinds of upsets like a pandemic, right, give you opportunity to be really, really creative. And really, really creative people tend to be really, really successful when they have the right resources and the right things behind them. I think the expenses will be less for those businesses. I also think that the ability to be able to connect with other folks who may be furloughed, laid off. There's a remarkable amount of talent in the marketplace right now, and having that talent available and able to maybe work at a different price point than perhaps they once were, I think provide tremendous opportunities for entrepreneurs to get great talent at a great price in terms of salary or contracting even in some cases. So those things, when you keep your labor costs and your occupancy costs low, as this pandemic has taught us, then I think you're really able to build a business that's sustainable, and I think that's going to be an outcome.
Yeah, well, and kind of to what you're talking about, what about from a creating jobs perspective? Because historically, small businesses are kind of the job creation engines and account for most of the jobs in the country. So I think we'll keep seeing that. And
I think you will. I think you'll see jobs go from big business to small. I think think about my own experience. The ability to be an employer is one I take very seriously, and so most entrepreneurs own that responsibility very personally, right? And so as I think about the growth of my business, I'm always thinking about, are we going to be here next year? What does it mean for my 8 employees? What does it mean for their lives and livelihoods and the families they support? And so those things become really important, I think, to making sure that all of us are working together to build a business that is going to be sustainable for the future. And I think entrepreneurs doing that will create an environment where those small businesses will provide jobs for the foreseeable future.
Great. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here with us today and sharing your insights.
My
We really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.